Last week, a supposed Indigenous custodian of Birwa Mountain, one of the Glasshouse Mountains between Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, started a campaign to close a hiking track because walking on it was culturally insensitive. Custodians did the same thing to Uluru in 2019, and tourism to the area has since been thoroughly decimated, reducing work opportunities for locals. Even a cartoon of Uluru by Herald Sun cartoonist Mark Knight last year was censoriously deemed to have, quote, breached media guidelines by no less than Parks Australia, a federal government department. Last year, Mount Warning near Byron Bay was closed to hikers for the same reason. The Voice will not solve these differences. Instead, it will exacerbate them. The remarkable thing about these stories is how desperate they are to find differences between black and white Australians. How is it offensive to walk a trail that Indigenous nomadic people walked for millennia? The answer is it's not. But victim status is highly sought after these days, and inventing offences is an easy way for people claiming Indigenous custodianship to acquire it. Such status used to be denied to pale-skinned academics, but these days you don't have to look even remotely Indigenous to claim, as Lydia Thorpe does, to have been repressed all your effing life. For academics who can't even do that, though, the next best thing is to signal moral virtues on the matter. This morning, The Conversation website published a story linking the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age newspapers with, wait for it, slavery. The two newspapers were once owned by the Fairfax family, which also had a stake in the Colonial Sugar Refining Company, which in the late 19th century processed cane cut down by, quote, effectively slave labour. These were people coerced or forced onto ships from islands in the South Pacific who were then forced to work on sugar farms. Although none were bought or sold, as is the case in genuine slavery, this was still a severely exploitative business and as close to actual slavery as Australia got. The morally vain Guardian newspaper in Britain recently discovered its own links to slavery in the 19th century and has set aside £10 million to spend on what it calls restorative justice.